superhero.
10 things you didn't know about Harry Potter's Gryffindor. How much do you know about the most famous and revered wizarding house in Hogwarts? If you are an extreme Harry Potter fan, you might fancy yourself an expert. But perhaps there are a few facts you didn't know about the legendary House of Gryffindor. Here's a look at 15 facts you probably didn't know about House Gryffindor. 10. The crazy passwords to the Gryffindor Common.
Oh, I'm too hungry.
If you ever try to sneak into Gryffindor, don't bother trying any of these passwords. The passwords change daily, so none of these ones will work. You have to recite the correct password to the fat lady in the painting if you wish to enter. Azkaban prisoner Sirius Black managed to gain entrance to Gryffindor by pilfering a list of passwords written down by forgetful Neville Longbottom. How devious of Sirius Black! But he did so for the greater good of the entire wizarding world. 9. Gryffindor did have terrible Quidditch seasons. The Gryffindor Quidditch team is one of the best. Over the centuries they have won numerous titles and World Cups thanks to teamwork, skill, practice, gumption and sometimes even pure luck. Capturing the golden snitch requires a fair bit of luck just to see it from a great distance. However, the team is not some infallible dynasty. Team Gryffindor has had some pretty terrible seasons over the centuries. 8. Neville Longbottom didn't want to be in Gryffindor. Neville Longbottom is perhaps the most heroic and famous alumnus of Gryffindor. He might even be more heroic than Harry Potter because it was actually Neville who defeated Lord Voldemort in the end. Neville almost wasn't a member Gryffindor though. He didn't even want to be in House Gryffindor in the first place, partly because of the pressure and the fact that he felt he didn't fit in the group. Luckily, he ended up a Gryffindor after all, because things might have been very different if he wasn't able to confront Lord Voldemort when it seemed as if Harry had been killed and all hope was lost. 7. Only Godric Gryffindor's personal items survived. There are no items owned by any of the founding members of Hogwarts that lasted over the centuries, save for 2 which were owned by Godric Gryffindor. This is because many of them were Horcruxes giving Voldemort his power. They had to be destroyed in order to defeat Voldemort. The ones that did make it were Godric's famous hat, which we know as the Sorting Hat, and Godric's sword. The Sword of Gryffindor was used by Harry and Dumbledore in hunting down Horcruxes in the quest to save the world and defeat Lord Voldemort. The magnificent sword is over 1,000 years old and was handcrafted by goblins. The enchanted sword consists of pure silver on the blade, and rubies that adorn the handle. 6. Nearly headless Nick was decapitated for giving a woman a pair of tusks. Each house at Hogwarts has its very own ghost. The Gryffindor ghost is Nearly Headless Nick, who was played by John Cleese in the Harry Potter films. Do you know how the Gryffindor ghost became a ghost in the first place? In his adult life, after he graduated from Hogwarts, he became a wizard in the royal court. He attempted to use his powers and magic skills to help a woman straighten her teeth. There were no orthodontists back in the day, you know. The spell backfired horribly, and instead of having her teeth fixed, the woman grew a pair of tusks. This unfortunate mishap made things a whole lot worse for both her and Sir Nicholas de Mimsy Porpington, as he was known at the time. His incompetence resulted in his decapitation. But that didn't quite go according to plan either. The execution was botched too, and in death he is known as Nearly Headless Nick. His bad luck never seems to end. 5. Other houses envy favoritism from Dumbledore. Most Harry Potter fans cheer for Gryffindor. In the books and films, Gryffindor has a reputation for being the house where all the good guys come from, and Slytherin is the house where all the bad guys come from. Lord Voldemort was a Slytherin and Harry Potter was a Gryffindor, but things really aren't that simple. In fantasy, just as in real life, things aren't always black and white. After all, Snape ended up being a hero. During his time as headmaster, Albus Dumbledore sure made it seem like he would randomly give Gryffindor extra points so they could end up ahead in the end. The blatant favoritism resulted in outrage from the other houses, especially Slytherin. However, Dumbledore was headmaster, so what exactly could they do but grin and bear it? 4. Boys can't enter the Gryffindor girls' dorm. House Gryffindor has some pretty strict rules when it comes to fraternizing with the opposite sex. The boys of House Gryffindor are not allowed into the girls' side of the dorm because it is blocked by a spell that makes it impossible for them to enter. The boys' side of the room has no such spell, however. Any girl who is a member of House Gryffindor could easily walk into the dorm where the boys are with no trouble at all. Why the rules for boys but no rules for girls? Well, the tale goes that women are simply more trustworthy than men. What do you think of this rule at Hogwarts? Is it practical? Or perhaps it is a bit sexist? You decide. 3. Gryffindor has a long history of Potters. Just about every member of the Potter family lineage has been sorted into House Gryffindor, all the way back to Henry Potter and up to Lily Luna Potter. However, not every Potter was sorted into House Gryffindor. Harry Potter's second son, Albus Severus Potter, was actually sorted into House Slytherin. Albus sort of resented having to live up to the lofty expectations of being the son of one of the most famous wizards of all time. So it made sense his rebellious attitude would result in him becoming a member of House Slytherin. After all, he was named after Professor Snape. 2. Sirius Black was the only black in Gryffindor. We all thought Sirius Black, played by Gary Oldman in the Harry Potter franchise, was a bad guy at first, but it turns out he was actually a good guy. Most members of the House of Black were up to no good, and followed Lord Voldemort. They shared his view that being a pure-blood wizard was superior and had no problem in practicing the dark arts. They had zero regard for muggles and squibs, and they even expelled them from their family trees in an attempt to make it seem like they were truly pure blood. However, Sirius Black was different, and he wasn't fooled by this attempt to rewrite history and lineage. It was being sorted into Gryffindor that led him down the path of good and later made him join the ranks of the Marauders alongside James Potter. They fought together in the First Wizarding War with Peter Pettigrew and Remus Lupin. 1. Some Gryffindor alumni became Death Eaters. As stated before, not everything is black and white in the world of Harry Potter. Some Slytherins fought against the evil Lord Voldemort, and some Gryffindors turned evil and stood beside Lord Voldemort as Death Eaters. Followers of Lord Voldemort did so out of fear, cowardice, hate, or simply a need for power. The most famous Death Eater who came from House Gryffindor was Peter Pettigrew, also known as Wormtail. The fact is that there have been dark wizards from every house in Hogwarts. So the idea that Gryffindor is perfect and saintly is a myth of epic proportions. There have been Gryffindors that were really bad dudes, but most Gryffindor alumni won't admit to this truth. Yeah!